The mistake that changed his life. Even Hale never believed a small mistake could change a person's whole life. But on the alien trade world called Vera Prime, mistakes were easy to make. The air was filled with loud voices, blinking lights, strange smells, and creatures from every corner of the galaxy. Vendors shouted in 50 different languages, trying to sell everything from broken machines to rare alien pets. Evan only came here to buy old tech parts for his ship. Nothing more, nothing dangerous, nothing strange. He was a simple cargo pilot, a human with no special skills, no powerful friends, and certainly no desire to get involved with alien travel. But Vera Prime had other plans for him. As he walked through the noisy market, he stopped near a stall selling old robot parts. A small device caught his eye, shining under a dirty light. It looked like a navigation chip he needed. The alien merchant, a four-armed creature with silver eyes, smiled at him. "You want this, human?" The merchant asked, tapping the device with a long claw. Evan nodded and scanned the price on the tiny screen. It was cheap, maybe too cheap, but he needed it. He handed his credits across the counter. The merchant grinned wider, tapped a few buttons on his system, and said, "Purchase complete." Evan heard a soft chime from his wristband showing the transaction was successful. He expected the merchant to give him the chip, but instead, the crowd around the stall suddenly grew quiet. The merchant snapped his claws loudly and shouted, "Bring her out." Evan blinked, confused. "Her?" he asked, before he could say anything else. Two guards pulled something from the shadows behind the stall. A girl, a young alien girl, thin and shaking, with glowing blue skin and soft white hair. She had a metal collar around her neck and chains on her wrists. Her large silver eyes lifted toward Evan, terrified but hopeful. The merchant pushed her forward. "Your purchase, human," he said proudly. Evan froze. "What? No, I didn't buy," he started. The merchant held up his claws sharply. "No return." He hissed, "Trade law, Section 49. No return on living merchandise." Evan felt the blood drain from his face. "I bought a navigation chip," he protested. The merchant tapped his machine. The screen displayed the words, "One living asset, purchased," a translation error. The system misunderstood the item Evan selected. Instead of buying a small machine part, he had accidentally bought a living being. He stared at the frightened girl standing before him. She looked no older than 16 in human years. Her skin shimmered like moonlight, and tiny bioluminescent patterns glowed along her arms. She lowered her head slowly, then fell to her knees before him. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "My life belongs to you, husband." Evan's heart nearly stopped. "It's husband. No. That's not," he stuttered, but the entire market crowd reacted immediately. Some gasped, some backed away, some whispered in excitement. To them, this was not strange. In many alien cultures, freeing someone from captivity, whether by choice or mistake, created a powerful life bond, sometimes even stronger than marriage, and freeing someone by purchase was considered the highest form of it. Evan held up his hands, panicking. "Stand up, please. You're not my," he said. But she stayed kneeling. Her glowing eyes lifted to his, confused and scared. "You bought my freedom," she whispered. "I belong to you now." His stomach twisted. "I'm trying to give it back," he said quickly. "You're free. Go anywhere you want." But she shook her head. "No, without a bond I will be hunted again," she whispered sadly. "Your world does not understand my people." Evan suddenly noticed several dangerous-looking aliens watching them from nearby stalls. Their eyes followed the girl like predators watching prey. The merchant leaned toward Evan and whispered with a poisonous smile, "You should leave, human, before someone steals her from you." Steals? The word sent a cold shiver down Evan's spine. He grabbed the girl's arm gently. "Come on," he said. "We're getting out of here." She nodded and followed him closely, almost stepping on his heels in fear. Her chains rattled with every movement. The marketplace felt different now, quieter, darker, more dangerous. Shadows moved behind them, eyes watching, waiting. Hunting, Evan led her into a small alley behind the market stalls. "First things first," he said, trying to steady his voice. "We're taking off this color." He used a portable cutter from his bag, and with a sharp spark, the metal collar snapped open and fell to the ground. The girl gasped softly. Then something unexpected happened. She stepped closer, placed her hand over her heart, and whispered with deep emotion, "My real name is Saren, and I accept the life bond." Evan nearly dropped the cutter. No, don't accept anything," he said quickly. "I'm not your..." But before he could finish, a loud mechanical noise echoed from behind them. A shadow blocked the alley entrance. Someone was already tracking them. And they were not friendly, Evan realized with a sick feeling in his stomach. The mistake he made today was only the beginning of something much bigger, something dangerous, something he could not escape anymore. The next morning, Ray woke up thinking everything that happened was just a strange dream. He expected to open his eyes and find his small apartment quiet and empty as always. But instead, he found a pair of glowing silver eyes staring at him from the corner of the room. The alien girl, now free from the cage he had unlocked last night, sat quietly with her tail wrapped around her knees. She watched him like he was the most important thing in the world. Ray almost fell off his bed. Why are you still here?" he asked in a shaking voice. The girl tilted her head. "You freed me, human husband," she said calmly. Ray choked on air. "Husband? No, that's not how it works." But she didn't seem confused, not even a little. She simply nodded like everything he said only confirmed her belief. Ray stood up and tried to explain. He talked slowly, using simple words, thinking maybe she didn't understand human language well, but she understood every word he said, and still, she refused to leave. "I will stay with you," she said. "It is the rule of my people. The one who frees us becomes our bond partner." Ray rubbed his face. "That rule doesn't apply here," he insisted. But she only replied softly, "It applies to me." He decided to take her outside, thinking maybe she would feel safer returning to the forest behind his building. But the moment they stepped outside, the girl pressed close to him like something dangerous was watching. Her tail puffed up, her ears twitching at every sound. Ray realized she wasn't just staying because she wanted to. She was staying because she was terrified. "Did someone chase you before you were captured?" he asked quietly. She nodded slowly. "Hunters?" she whispered, her voice trembling for the first time. "They hunt our kind for experiments." Ray's stomach twisted. The world he lived in had many dark secrets, and he had never imagined he would be standing next to one of them. He brought her back inside and gave her water and some food. She accepted everything with quiet gratitude. Then she suddenly knelt in front of him, lowering her head. "I will serve you," she said firmly. "I will protect you, cook for you, clean for you. Anything." Ray panicked. "Please don't kneel. Get up." But she didn't move. To her, kneeling was a promise, not humiliation. Finally, Ray gently pulled her up and made her sit on a chair instead. "You are not my servant," he said. "You're free." But she shook her head again. "Free beside you?" Ray didn't know what to do. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't rich. He wasn't special. He was just a guy who made a stupid online purchase. And now, an alien girl believed they were bonded for life. Hours passed. Ray tried to work on his tablet, but she followed him everywhere, quiet, careful, always watching him. When he sat, she sat. When he stood, she stood. When he sighed, she sighed too, as if copying him would help her fit into his world. But then, something strange happened. Every time she touched something electronic, the device flickered. The TV turned on when she walked by. The lights brightened when she smiled. And when she got scared, the apartment's temperature dropped by several degrees. Ray began realizing she wasn't just an alien girl. She was connected to some kind of energy he didn't understand. Later that evening, Ray heard loud footsteps downstairs. His apartment was on the top floor, and visitors rarely came this high. The alien girl immediately froze. Her pupils narrowed into thin lines. Ray saw fear in her eyes again, the same fear she had outside. Hunters, she whispered, her voice shaking like glass. Ray's heart stopped. How did they find you? He asked. She didn't know, but she slowly backed away from the door. Her tail was shaking, her breathing fast. Ray stepped between her and the entrance without thinking. Even though she was stronger and faster, she looked at him like he was the only shield she had. 3 heavy knocks echoed through the apartment. Ray felt the air tighten. The girl clutched his arm. Please, she whispered. Do not let them take me again. Ray swallowed hard. He wasn't brave. He wasn't ready for danger, but he couldn't let anyone drag her back into a cage. He slowly approached the door. Each step felt like walking toward his own doom. He peeked through the small viewer, but what he saw made his blood run cold. 2 armored men stood outside, their helmets black, their weapons hidden under long coats. They weren't police. They weren't neighbors. They were something much worse. The girl hid behind him, trembling. Ray realized he had only 2 choices now: hand her over or protect her. He took a deep breath and reached for the door lock, not to open it for them, but to prepare for whatever came next, because for the first time in his life, Ray chose danger over safety for someone who wasn't even human. Ray stood in silence, his hand resting on the door lock. Behind him, the alien girl pressed herself into the corner of the room, shaking like the air itself scared her. Her glowing silver eyes never left the door. Ray could hear her breathing quiet, fast, terrified. He knew one thing for sure. If those men outside were really hunters, they weren't going to leave without taking something. And what they wanted was standing behind him. The 3 knocks came again, louder this time. Then a voice followed. Calm and cold. Sir, we need to speak with you. Ray didn't move. He glanced back at the girl, who shook her head violently, begging him not to open the door. Stay quiet, Ray whispered. She nodded but grabbed his shirt with trembling fingers, afraid he might disappear if she didn't hold onto him. Ray stood on his toes and peeked through the tiny viewer again. The 2 men didn't look angry or impatient. They looked confident, like they already knew he had no choice. One of them held a small scanning device. Ray watched as the man lifted it and waved it across the hallway. The device blinked red. Ray didn't know what that meant, but the alien girl gasped softly behind him. They are tracking my energy, she whispered. My kind leaves a trail when we are afraid. Ray swallowed hard. He didn't have weapons. He wasn't a fighter. He was just a random guy with a messy apartment and no plan for his own life. But now 2 dangerous men were at his door because he tried to do the right thing. A heavy thud shook the door. Ray jumped back. The girl squeaked in fear and grabbed his arm, her claws accidentally scratching him. Sorry, she whispered immediately, but her voice was shaking too much to hide anything. Ray pulled her gently toward the small kitchen. Hide, he whispered, just until I figure out what they want. No, she said firmly. Even through the fear, if they see only you, they will hurt you. Ray stared at her, shocked. She was terrified, shaking, but still ready to stand in front of him if needed. For a moment, Ray forgot she was an alien. She looked like someone who had spent her whole life running. Someone who finally found a safe place and was now losing it. I'll talk to them, Ray said. But you stay behind me the whole time. She nodded slowly, trusting him completely. Ray took a breath so deep it hurt. Then he unlocked the door halfway, leaving the safety chains still on. The 2 men looked up immediately. Both wore blank expressions behind their tinted visors. Evening, sir, one said. We're conducting a routine check. Ray forced a nervous smile. At midnight, he asked. The man didn't blink. Routine, he repeated. Ray didn't open the door further. Check for what? He asked. The man lifted the scanner. We detected an unregistered signal in this building, he said. Ray's heartbeat crashed in his ears. He forced himself to act confused. Signal, like a Wi-Fi problem. The second man's visor tilted. Not exactly, he said, his voice more dangerous than the first. We are looking for a biological anomaly. The alien girl tensed behind Ray. Her fingers curled in fear, gripping the back of his shirt like it was the only thing keeping her alive. We'd like to come inside, the man said. Just a quick sweep. Ray's blood turned cold. He closed the door slightly, stopping the chain from rattling. "I live alone," Ray said. "There's nothing unusual here." The man leaned closer. "Step aside and let us confirm that." Ray's breath caught. He didn't know what to do. If he refused, they would force their way in. If he let them in, they would take the girl. He turned his head slightly. The alien girl looked up at him with wide, terrified eyes. She didn't say a word. She didn't need to. He already knew he couldn't let them in. "No," Ray said quietly, surprising even himself. The man paused. "Excuse me?" "I said no," Ray repeated, louder this time. "You can come back with a real warrant." The corridor went silent. The air felt heavy, thick, dangerous. The first man lifted his hand slowly. Ray thought he was reaching for his gun, but instead, the man placed his palm flat on the door. And then something impossible happened. The lights in the hallway flickered. Ray felt a strange vibration running through the metal of the door. The alien girl gasped sharply behind him. Her claws extended without her control. "They are using a disruptor," she whispered. "They will break the lock." Ray backed away, pulling her with him. The door rattled. The chain shook violently. A deep, humming sound filled the apartment. The walls trembled as if the building itself was afraid. The door bolt began to twist on its own. Ray stared in horror. They weren't picking the lock. They were melting it. The alien girl clutched his wrist, her entire body shaking. "Ray," she whispered. Her voice cracked like something inside her was breaking. "They will take me back. Not if he could help it. Not tonight. Not ever." Ray pulled her toward the back of the apartment. "We need to escape," he said. "But how?" she asked, terrified. Ray didn't know. He wasn't a fighter or a hero, but he wasn't going to let her be dragged into a cage again. Not while he was still breathing. The moment Ray pulled the alien girl toward the back of the apartment, the front door finally gave way. Metal snapped, the chain broke, and the door swung open with a loud crash. The hallway lights flickered again as the two hunters stepped inside, silent and calm like they were walking into a place they already owned. Ray didn't look back. He grabbed the girl's hand and ran through the narrow hallway of his apartment, heading straight toward the fire escape window. Her steps were light and fast, but her fear made her stumble as she ran. Ray caught her arm quickly, steadying her without slowing down. "Stay with me," he whispered. "I am," she whispered back, her voice full of trust and fear at the same time. Behind them, the hunter's heavy boots echoed on the wooden floor. One spoke calmly. "You cannot run." Ray didn't answer. He threw open the window, cold night air rushing inside. Below them, the fire escape ladder led down into the dark alley. The alien girl hesitated only for a second. She had never seen a human alley before. Dark, dirty, full of shadows, but anything was better than being captured again. Ray climbed out first. He reached for her hand from outside the window. "Come on," he said gently. "I won't let you fall." She nodded and climbed through, her small frame shaking. For a moment, her foot slipped on the metal bar. Ray grabbed her waist just in time, pulling her close to him. Her heartbeat trembled through her body as she held onto him tightly. "Thank you," she whispered. Ray didn't have time to answer. A loud metallic sound exploded behind them. The hunters had reached the window. A burst of bright blue light shot past them, striking the wall beside the fire escape. Concrete shattered, spraying dust into the air. Ray ducked, pulling the girl down. "You go first," he said, lowering her toward the ladder. Her glowing silver eyes widened. "What about you?" "I'll be right behind you," Ray promised, even though he had no idea if he could keep that promise. She didn't argue. She trusted him too much to waste time questioning. She climbed down, each step shaky but fast. Ray followed, trying not to look up where the hunters were leaning out the window, their weapons humming with charged energy. They fired again. A blue beam grazed the metal bars, heating them so fast the air hissed. Ray felt the pole burn his hand, but he kept climbing, forcing himself not to scream. He reached the bottom just as the girl tugged his sleeve urgently. "This way," she whispered, pointing deeper into the alley. Ray didn't ask how she knew where to go. He just ran with her, dodging trash cans and broken boxes. Above them, The sound of boots hit the metal fire escape as the hunters started climbing down. Ray and the alien girl reached the mouth of the alley and turned sharply, entering a quiet back street. Everything looked empty, but Ray knew that the hunters had advanced tech and could track energy signatures. He needed an idea, and he needed it fast. The alien girl suddenly pulled his hand to stop him. Her silver eyes glowed faintly in the darkness. "I can hide us," she whispered, but only for a few seconds. Ray looked at her, confused. "What do you mean, hide us?" She swallowed nervously and placed her palm against the wall. A faint shimmer appeared around them, like a thin bubble of bending light. Ray blinked in shock. It was like they had disappeared into a ripple of air. "I can bend light round us," she said softly, her voice weak from the effort. "But I cannot move while doing it." Ray placed an arm around her shoulders to steady her as she trembled. "How long can you hold this?" he asked. "Not long," she whispered. "Maybe 5 breaths." Footsteps echoed into the alley. The hunters' voices were close enough for Ray to hear them clearly. "She was here," one said. "She cannot hide her signal," the other replied. Ray held his breath. The alien girl squeezed her eyes shut, her face tightening with pain as she forced the light to bend harder. The hunters walked past them, only inches away. Ray could see the faint reflection of their visors in the bubble of distorted light. He didn't dare move. He didn't dare breathe. The alien girl's hand trembled violently. Ray covered her hand with his own, whispering, "You're doing good. Just a little more." Finally, the hunters moved down the street, searching somewhere far away. The girl released a shaking breath, the light bubble collapsing like mist. Her legs gave out, and Ray caught her before she fell. "You okay?" he asked quickly. She nodded weakly. "I'm fine. I just used too much energy." Ray lifted her gently, supporting her weight. "We need to get you somewhere safe." She looked up at him, her glowing eyes soft and tired. "You saved me," she whispered. Again, Ray gave a small smile. "You saved me too," he said. She opened her mouth to respond, but then her expression changed. She looked past Ray suddenly, her body freezing. Ray turned. One of the hunters stood at the end of the alley, weapon raised, visor glowing with cold blue light. "You cannot protect her, human," the hunter said. "It is not your place." Ray stepped in front of the girl without thinking, arms spread, heart pounding. "She's not property," he said. "She's not yours." The hunter didn't lower his weapon. "And she is not yours either," he replied calmly. Ray felt the alien girl grip the back of his shirt again, her voice trembling. "Ray, don't." But Ray didn't move. He stood between her and danger, refusing to let her be taken. The hunter aimed directly at him. Ray shut his eyes, then a loud blast echoed through the alley. A flash of red light shot past Ray's shoulder. The hunter staggered back, shocked. Ray spun around. The alien girl was holding a small glowing stone in her hand. It pulsed with deep red energy. Her eyes glowed brighter than Ray had ever seen. Her voice came out soft but full of power. "You will not take my human."